Hello everyone, welcome back to Adventure of a Lifetime. Let's go ahead and continue. We beached the outrigger canoe on Minamijima and unloaded our equipment.
今日は絶好のダイビング日和ね。
Chisa said, staring out over the gentle waves and the cloudless sky.
さて、着替えましょうか。
Chisa stripped without hesitation. As always, she was wearing a swimsuit underneath.
よっ。おっと。
While Chisa warmed up, Emily started changing next to her.
ヒロ君、あっち向いててもらえないかしら。
Oh, yeah, sorry. She was clearly wearing a swimsuit under her clothes like Chisa, but I assumed she didn't want me to see her undressing. Looking the other way, I stripped too. Once finished, I turned back around. Emily was there in her swimsuit. Emily stood there, fidgeting and acting bored. And I couldn't help checking her out.
何してんの？ほら、準備運動。
At Chisa's insistence, Emily started her warm-up as well.
1、2、3、4。1、2、3、4。5、6、7、8。
Oh my god, Chisa!
5、6、7、8。
Emily! Chisa had a rich tan and her body was fit and healthy. Okay, let's take a good look at this lovely tummy. Wonderful. She didn't seem to be on a diet, but she had no fat and her muscles bunched slightly as she flexed. On the other hand, Emily's skin was as white as fresh fallen snow. The way the swimsuit hugged against her supple skin made her look even more soft and luscious. The contrast was exquisite. Wow, nice view. Hi, Finn. As I watched the two girls warming up, Finn stared at me with an unreadable expression.
見てないで、あんたもやんなさい。
Oh yeah. I rushed to join in on the exercise. When we were finished, it was time to put on our wetsuits. If you weren't used to it, putting one on couldn't be hard. They were made of an elastic material and fit tightly on the body. For the upper body, it's easier if you put one arm through first, then try the other arm. Although I was playing teacher, it had actually been a while since I'd gone scuba diving. After we had our wetsuits on, it was time to put on the hardware. There's a lot of equipment involved in scuba. First, there's the diving cylinder. It should go without saying, but that's where the air comes from. And it's incredibly heavy. Next, there's the regulator to supply the diver with air from the tank. Since the air in the tank is pressurized, it needs to be regulated to match the water pressure for breathing. Then there's the vest-like BCD, or buoyancy compensator. This helps control buoyancy while underwater, but it can also be used as a life vest on the surface. Weights, placed on the waist belt, help offset the diving suit's natural buoyancy, allowing you to stay underwater. Fins are sometimes worn like boots or strapped directly to your bare feet. A diving mask to cover the nose, and a snorkel. Finally, there are smaller items like a pressure gauge, depth gauge, and a compass.
重い。
Emily, fully dressed now, was staggering. Scuba equipment was really heavy, so a weaker girl like Emily would have a hard time just walking.
できた？じゃあバディチェックよ。
Since Chisa was free diving, after the warm she'd been helping us get dressed. She was also our guide. You know about the buddy system, right?
ええ、講習で習ったわ。
The buddy system was a way to ensure safety when scuba diving. And that meant doing everything in pairs. We set our dive plan together and stayed together in the water. We also performed a buddy check before diving. This meant checking all of your buddy's equipment and having them check yours. It's the okay. Wait, okay. The sea was not hospitable to human life, and a single mistake could lead to a fatal accident. The buddy system was there to reduce that possibility as much as possible. While Emily and I did our buddy check, Chisa was clearly bored. Chisa used to scuba dive once upon a time. The only reason I had a C card was because I used to dive with her. Emily, you okay? Your face is all red. Could she be feeling sick?
だって体中をジロジロチェックされるんだもん。
She kept moving her hips, like she was trying to dodge my eyes. That's not why I'm doing it. I replied quickly, without a moment's hesitation.
ちょっと念入りすぎるんじゃない？
This is her first dive with a C card. Of course I'm being careful. Although I denied the accusation, I had been admiring the curve of Emily's waist and the way her breasts filled the tight wetsuit. Since the wetsuit fit so tightly, it really showed off her figure. If I were to describe Emily, I'd say the parts that stuck out really stuck out, and the parts that pulled in really pulled in. Okay, let's switch. That's your turn, Emily.
わかった。
Emily checked my equipment. Checking for bent tubes, making sure the weight belt was fastened, that the air was flowing. She took nearly twice as long as I did, but her face was serious as she checked.
オールオッケーよ。よし、準備完了ね。
Now it was time to dive.
ビーチエントリーのやり方は知ってる？講習で習ったけど。
There are a variety of techniques for entering the water. Beach entry, rocky surface entry, boat entry, and so on. They all had specialized techniques used for entry.
まずはまだフィンを履かずにバディと向かい合う。
Holding our fins in our hands, Emily and I faced one another.
なんだかドキドキするわね、この体勢。それから相手の肩を持つ。
We put our hands on each other's shoulders.
この体勢のまま横に歩いていくのよね。
Facing each other, our hands on each other's shoulders, we sidestepped into the water. This entry method was used on the beach because the soft sand could cause you to sink and lose balance. There weren't any waves here, but at other beaches, the incoming waves were a real threat. Not to mention all the heavy equipment we wore. Once we reached deeper waters, we helped one another get our fins on.
よいしょっと。
Got it?
ええ。
Emily kicked her legs in the water to make sure the fins wouldn't come off easily. Okay, time to go under.
待って、やっぱ待って。
What's wrong?
ちょっと深呼吸させて。いいわ。
try not to worry so much. But if you get scared, just give me a sign.
了解。
Right, it's time. Get ready? Go! When we put our faces underwater, at first we saw only clouds of tiny bubbles racing to the surface. When they cleared, the world was suddenly cast in a deep blue. I looked to one side. I couldn't see her expression through her mask, but her movements were stiff from nervousness. Relax. Just relax. I touched her shoulder to comfort her.
リラックス。
I pointed forward and down. Let's go.
オッケー。
Slowly, we went deeper and deeper into the water. It's hard to simply dive down for beginners as human bodies tend to float in water. So we moved toward the inlet's entrance, swaying just under the surface. As we moved away from the sandy floor of the inlet and over a steep cliff, the ocean floor was spread out before our eyes. As we moved further out into the open ocean, Emily's nervousness only intensified. I took her hand and we swam out further. Not long after, it slowly came into view. The ghost ship. Emily, wait! Don't rush! I stopped Emily as she had subconsciously started speeding up, then tapped my ear. And then she seemed to remember something important. She stopped moving and pinched her nose through her mask. She was equalizing her ears. There are several areas where air can get trapped in the human body. The ears are two of them, and as you dive deeper and the outside pressure increases, those air pockets are squeezed. If you go too fast, it can cause pain or even rupture the eardrums. Equalizing is used to prevent that from happening. One technique is to hold your nose and breathe out. This pushes the air to your ears. By increasing the amount of air in those spaces, you can equalize the pressure inside with the outside pressure. Equalizing the ears is an important skill for a scuba, and if you can't do it, then you can't dive deep. Emily?
待って、すぐやるから置いてっちゃやよ。
I know, just settle down and take it slow.
できた。
Emily gave me the okay sign. I equalized my ears too before we continued on. You have to equalize every so often the deeper you dive, but the frequency is different for everyone. And if your buddy is having trouble equalizing, it's important to stop moving and wait for them. Speaking of air pressure, the lungs are also pretty big bags of air. As the outside pressure increases, they get smaller, but breathing helps regulate the pressure naturally. All you have to do is fill your lungs with air from the cylinder. This also means that you can't hold your breath when scuba diving. As we went deeper and Emily continued equalizing, she seemed to calm down.
見て、あれ、幽霊星。
Yeah, so this is what it looks like. It was caught in a rocky crevice on the sea floor. I heard the rumors tons of times about the ghost ship that wandered the sea floor. It was the kind of story kids lived for. but I had never seen it myself. But finally, here we were. Emily gazed at the silent ship lying there, her heart heavy with a range of emotions. This mysterious ghost ship had wandered the waters of the Ogasawara Islands for 16 long years. Suddenly, a mammalian figure jumped into view. Hi, Finn, what's up? A dolphin and...
Osaki!
Hi, Chisa. Chisa swam by.
急に出てこないでよ。びっくりするじゃない。
Emily complained, air bubbling around her. Chisa dove effortlessly, her movement unhindered by mask or tank.
あの子、エラ呼吸できるんじゃないかしら。
Agreed. Schools of fish had gathered around the ghost ship. Shipwrecks provided large habitats for fish, so they were excellent diving spots.
綺麗ね。
Emily stared at the magical scene, our goal completely forgotten. Chisa easily passed by us to approach the fish-shrouded ship, but suddenly drew back. What's wrong? Chisa looked in my direction and threw up a sign by making an X with her hands.
こっちに近づかないで。
I wasn't sure what had happened, but our original plan had only been to come this far anyway. I gave Chisa an okay sign and led Emily back to the shallows.
もうダメ。
Back on the beach, Emily laid out on the beach in her equipment.
こらこら、機材が砂まみれになっちゃうでしょ。そういうのは脱いでからにしなさい。だって重いんだもん。
We come back after a little dive, but carrying all that gear from the shallows up the beach was no small task. It was hard enough for me, but for Emily, who looked like she never lifted anything heavier than a pasta fork, it must have been torture. Here, I'll help.
ありがとう、ヒロくん。もう、ヒロキはすぐエミリーを甘やかす。
It's the buddy system.
はいはい、そうですね。
As I helped Emily out of her gear, I called over to Chisa. So, what was that over by the ghost ship? Chisa had gone over alone but told us not to come closer via hand signal.
なんかヤバそうな海流があった。
A current?
もともとあの辺りは突き出た岩が多くて海流が複雑な場所なんだけど、幽霊船が来たせいでより複雑になってるみたい。リップカレントが発生してた。
Seriously?
リップカレントって？
Emily asked, finally free of her cylinder and other equipment. There are unstable currents in the ocean just like air currents on land, and they can change direction with depth.
講習で習ったわ。それはそれで気をつけないといけないんだけど、それとは別に海底には流れの強い場所があるの。岩場やサンゴ礁によって海流の通り道が狭まる場所で激しい流れが生まれる。それがリップカレント。そいつに捕まると流されちゃうってわけ。
It didn't look like Emily was getting it. She was probably thinking it would be easy to swim back since you're still in the water. If a rip current heads towards land, you might be okay. But if you get caught in a rip current that heads to the open sea, guess what happens?
すごく遠くまで流されちゃう。
Emily went pale as she finally understood the danger. Exactly. Right, Chisa?
危ないところだったわね。チサが知らせてくれなきゃ捕まってたかも。 だからちゃんと経験を積んでスキルを磨きなさいって話。そうすれば危険も回避できる。ダイビングショップの娘からのありがたいアドバイスよ。
Chisa said, somewhat rashly before going out to sit alone in the shade.
何あの子。
Ooh, how pretty.
今日は C カードを取得して初めてのダイビング。海の中でも私は無敵だった。
We were sitting in Machiko's cafe before it opened, and Emily was writing feverishly about the day's dive in her new logbook.
ログブックに嘘書いちゃダメでしょ。どこが無敵だったのよ。よちよち歩きの赤ん坊みたいだったわよ。うるさいわね。いいでしょ。このノートは私の栄光の伝記として将来子供や孫たちが読み返すんだから。
A logbook is used to keep track of your dives. They're useful for keeping track of which sea, what depth, and how long you dived. There are sections for other details such as weather conditions, who else was there, and even a space to write, just like a diary. Some people even make sketches of the fish they saw during their dive. Not only are they fun to fill out, logbooks are also useful when trying for more advanced certification or renting equipment. It's a physical proof of your experience in the water, which is why writing about one's perceived invincibility wasn't such a good idea.
お、こっちも気合入ったログつけてるわね。
Chisa glanced at my log. Emily saw my sketch of the ghost ship and sulked.
それ私がやりたかった。
Who's stopping you?
いい、やらない。
Either she didn't want to be second or she didn't think she had the artistic skill. With a pained look on her face, she went right back to writing. Afterwards, Chisa compared our logbooks.
エミリーのダイビングスキルが向上しない限り幽霊船には近づくこともできないわね。
We also had to come up with a more detailed dive plan. The lost engagement ring that Emily was looking for was in that ghost ship. We had to get inside somehow, but entering a sunken ship required quite a bit of skill. These wrecking lessons were offered, but only in advanced scuba classes, meaning we'd need to take classes too.
まだ中性浮力もままならないエミリーじゃね。
Neutral buoyancy refers to the technique of floating in place in the water, and is more difficult than it sounds. You have to control your body's buoyancy to keep from sinking or floating up. The technique would be a necessity for wrecking.
それから作戦を立てるにしてももっとしっかり幽霊船を観察する手段がいるわね。防水カメラがあればいいけど。私のカバンが海に沈んでなきゃそのくらい顔お小遣いあったのに。
Even though Emily was working at the cafe, all her money went to renting diving equipment. And even the discounted prices at Chisa's shop didn't do much offset the cost of daily rentals. Well, luckily for us, I got my hands on this.
何このごついのカメラ？
I remember that Grandpa used to take pictures underwater. Yeah, it turned out when I searched the shed.
ニノコス。古そうなカメラだけどまだ使えるの？
Well, I made sure the shutter still works. The main problem is that it's not digital.
デジカメじゃないって？
That means it's a film camera. Emily stared at the camera.
これがフィルムカメラなんだ。昔のカメラって大きかったのね。
I'm not too sure, but apparently this one is especially big. Guess it has something to do with it being an underwater camera. Since it was designed to be waterproof under high pressure, it probably had to be pretty big. I put a small yellow box on the table. Here's the film I found with the camera. It's past the use by dates, but I think it's still okay.
こっちにあるパーツは何？
She said no, it's another camera accessory. I'm not really sure, but I think you can still take pictures without it. These days you can look up anything online. I'd already studied info on how to use the camera, what to watch out for when using film, and so on. I can use this to take pictures of the exterior.
古いカメラで幽霊船を撮るなんて面白そう。ワクワクするわ。冒険って感じがしてくるわね。でもちゃんと映るのかしら、こんな古そうなカメラで。
Not a clue. We should probably try it out first.
いつにする？明日？
I'd love to say yes, but finances are saying it's a no.
そうね。付けにはしてもらってるけど、バイト代を上回っちゃったら後から払えなくなっちゃうわ。まあ夏休みは長いんだし、気長に行きましょう。夏休みといえば。
チース。
Ah, Ryota, welcome. What's up? It's still a bit too early for him to be eating dinner.
こいつを貼らせてもらっていいか。
Ryota pulled a flyer from the bundle in his hand. When I saw what was on it, I couldn't help blurting out. Oh, it's happening again this year?
花火大会？
The flyer had a picture of fireworks on it.
サマフェスよ。盆踊りの夜にやるの。
The Yogasawara Bond Festival was famous, but on that same day, they also held a big fireworks show. I think I'll just read that for you. Bond Festival. This festival's dance aims to help remember the dead. Men and women of all ages gather on temple grounds to dance on the evening of August 16th. They say that those souls who have escaped the torments of hell are so happy that they dance. At the Yogasawara Bond Festival, all the residents are already so close. It can be a very lively event, and there are even encores from time to time. That was a summer festival. You can watch from Omura Beach.
へえ、見たい見たい。
お前らも手伝え。カヌー貸してやってんだから。
私たちも手伝っていいの？
盆踊りの準備会があるんだ。チサもやってんだぞ。ほら。
He flipped the flyer around to reveal what was on the back.
小さだわ。
Ah, it's her sprite. It is! Chisa's picture was featured on one side.
イルカ少女がみんなを待ってるよ。だって。いいでしょもう。はい、おしまい。
So, is this your modeling debut, Chisa?
やるわね、チサ。
チサは島の自慢だからな。芸能人みたいなもんだ。
やめてよ。私絶対嫌だって言ったのに、うちのお母さんが勝手に写真を送っちゃって。
She used her body to hide a flyer on the table. It was weird to see her so upset. She must have been really embarrassed.
で、お前らどうする？
やる、手伝う。
Sure, no objections here.
よし、決まりだ。
でも、チサみたいにモデルするのは嫌よ。
エミリーちゃんならいいモデルになると思うが、もうチラシは作っちまったからな。それじゃ、早速このチラシを配りに行くぞ。
Hey, hold up, Emily. Where are you going? It's time to open.
行っちゃったわ。自由な子ね。
Jesus sounded envious. She's naive, in a good way, and other people just like seeing her happy.
振り回される方はいい迷惑だけどね。
Still, it seems like you're having fun.
悔しいことにね。
Chisa pursed her lips in discontent and looked at the freshly printed flyers.
裏面でよかったわ。表だったらチラシを破いて歩かなきゃいけないところだった。
As I watched her, I contemplated on whether I should ask. It seemed like what Chisa had just said might be part of the reason she didn't want to do scuba anymore. I might ask her about it.
セーブくらい自分でやりな。
Hey Chisa,
ん
next time why not come diving with us?
潜ってるじゃん。
No, I mean scuba diving. We can be buddies, just like old times. Chisa looked hesitant.
そうしたらエミリーのバディがいなくなっちゃうよ。あの子に潜るななんて言ったら暴動起こすわよ。
True. But I want to go diving with you again.
そのうちね。
She was dodging me, and there wasn't much else I could do. Due to current circumstances, I needed to dive with Emily. And that was fun and all, but I had come to Ogasawara to go back to that special place with Chisa. But when I tried to bring it up, she ignored me completely. Maybe she was embarrassed, or maybe I was missing something.
何？
It's nothing. Chisa shook her head and muttered weirdo under her breath.
さてと、そろそろ開店準備しましょうかね。
Chisa stood up and put on her apron. She looked so cute with the apron on. The cafe would be opening in 15 minutes.
このチラシ、ここに貼らせてもらっていい？
Sure, go ahead.
ほんと困るわ。何がイルカ少女よ。絶対に裏面が見れないように念入りに画鋲を刺しておかないと。
Chisa muttered as she hung the flyer up on the shop bulletin board. Even though Chisa complained, she never refused the favor. That's why people relied on her so much. Anyway, I can't wait for the summer festival.
盆踊りもね。
We stood there looking over at the flyer as we talked about the old days, and it made us even more excited for the future.